Alright.
We're taking all the best old school wisdom and blending it with the top new school methods to bring you the optimal coaching strategies. This is the 80-20 Baseball Podcast with Coach Bo.
Welcome 80-20 Baseball community, coaching community. Awesome to be here with you this week. Here is what we are going to discuss in this week's episode. The 4 main reasons hitters are not on time, a throwing program for more advanced youth, a nuanced part of a throwing program. This comes from a recommendation, a high-quality experienced coach shared in a video with the American Baseball Coaches Association. And I'm going to share out the message that I heard from this great coach that shared out a terrific message on some adaptability within a high-quality throwing routine. We're going to discuss, review the key points from Jared Slater's interview. Coach Slater, we talked strength and conditioning last week. We're not going to dive into super deep. That's what the interview was for. But we're going to hit the 4 main points, the key points that I want to reiterate. And then we're going to talk about umpires, how to deal with them a little bit better. And I'm going to tie in the quote of the week with that part. The last part, dealing with umpires, this topic stems from it being one of the most listened to episodes in the 3+ years this podcast has been around. Episode 122 is the second most listened to podcast episode for 80-20 Baseball. Now, before we jump into the first part, the 4 main reasons hitters are not on time, I want to give a quick shout out to Coach Ryan Brucker, head coach over at Woodbridge High School in Irvine, California. Coach Brucker was on this program. I highly respect Coach Brucker. He just led his team, Woodbridge High School, to their 3rd straight league championship. That school had only won 2 league championships in the previous 40 years, and they've won 3 in a row. And in 2020, they were on track to battle, if not win, the league at that time until COVID closed up the season. Coach Brucker, big shout out. He was on here. To give him credit, he reached out to me 5 years ago-ish and had me come out and implement some of the 80-20 baseball stuff with his program. This is a coach who played high-level college baseball. He played in the College World Series. He's a very knowledgeable coach. He knows the game at a very advanced level, yet he reached out, had me come out and work with his team, work with the program, and implement some key parts. So big shout out to Coach Brucker and the Woodbridge team. 3rd straight league title. That league has Beckman High School, and Beckman is led by a coach who's one of the best coaches in all of California. Kevin Laval runs a really top-notch program, really good with his kids. Got to watch him for years. Very highly respected. And I want to say he was the fastest baseball coach in California high school history to win 200 games. But he's really great with his players. Very successful. And that's a team that's in the league with Coach Brucker and Woodbridge. So they're going up against some quality coaching, some quality programs. Big shout out to Coach Brucker. Highly recommend going back and listening to that interview with Coach Brucker from a few years ago. And one more thing before we jump into the 4 main reasons I believe hitters are not on time. This podcast is designed to be fast-paced. It's designed to be quick. It's a lot more work for me to make this a fast-paced podcast. The editing part takes time. I did mention a couple months ago, I switched the editing process. Long-term, I think it's going to be a lot better. There's been some hiccups. Some of the editing, some of the words here and there might get cut off a little bit. But this is supposed to be a fast-paced podcast. I'm trying to share out a lot of key information, just really good information in a fast way, because I know you're all super busy and you want to also get really good as fast as possible. You don't want to dilly-dally becoming good coaches. I did not want this podcast to be something that was a back and forth, casual conversation, slow moving. There are a lot of podcasts for that. I don't think learning about being a better coach is the area for that. There's a lot that do that. Go listen to Joe Rogan, go listen to those podcasts. Those are more conversational. Those have a great purpose. I think those are really good to listen to. Now, I wanted to make this a podcast that you could easily fit in your weekly schedule and give you actionable, proven stuff that you can go out there and use. I try to get this as condensed as possible to give you a lot of good information as fast as possible, because I know you're busy with your day jobs, with your families, with your own health, with so many other things. So just wanted to be upfront for anybody joining up. This is intentionally fast-paced. The editing is trying to speed it up to make it enjoyable to listen to. I want it to be fun to listen to. you, we don't take ourselves too seriously here. If you've listened before, we do talk about some things from time to time that might be a little random, come across a little random. We like to keep it light, but we also want to make sure that we're moving forward with what we're trying to do here. So with that said, let's move forward to the 4 main reasons hitters are not on time. Number 1, their parents' car broke down. Number 2, they couldn't find their cleats. All right. I'm joking, of course. The 4 main reasons hitters are not on time for the pitch. Number 1, they don't start their swing process on time. Number 2, they have extra unnecessary movement in their swing. Number 3, they are not strong enough yet. Or I should say number 4 could be a combination with 3. Sometimes it's separate. Number 4, the bat that they are using is too heavy for them at this time. Those are the 4 main reasons why hitters are not on time. Got an email from one of my longtime original listeners reaching out, shared some video of his kid, good player, having a little trouble getting on time for the pitch. And it made me think, hey, there's got to be some steps. What are the reasons? What are the main core reasons, the key reasons that hitters are not on time? So I wanted to break them down, share them out with you. Number 1, they don't start their swing process on time. Now, the swing process is usually not their hands. It's usually their lower half, their stride, their step, their tap, their load. They're not starting their swing process on time. So make sure that they're starting that on time. Number 2, they shouldn't have any extra unnecessary movements in their swing. I shared out something a while back, a Ted Williams quote, and he talked about this. His 2 big things, Ted Williams' 2 big things were get a good pitch to hit. Get a good pitch to hit. Number 1 most important thing in his opinion for all hitters of all time. Get a pitch that you can hit. Now with 2 strikes, it may not be a good pitch to hit, but you don't want to go down looking either. Again, you don't want to also chase stuff in the dirt and crazy wild pitches. The other thing he said was no unnecessary movement. Where the hands are, when they start to come forward, there shouldn't be a lot of downward movement, then forward. There shouldn't be an excessive backwards movement pushing. The hands shouldn't be pushed dramatically back to the catcher, towards the umpire, and then forward. Efficiency. There shouldn't be any or very little extra unnecessary movement in the swing. Get the hands to a good position and try your best as coaches to get those players to get to the swing path, to the ball in an efficient, consistent way. 3rd reason hitters are not on time for the pitch, they're not strong enough yet. They're not strong enough. That's assuming that their bat is the right weight. And number 4, the bat they're using is too heavy for them at this time. A lot of kids, in my experience, want to swing the bigger bat. Makes sense, right? They feel a little embarrassed if they're swinging a lighter bat, this, that, and the other, and they want to swing a heavier bat so they feel like they fit in. They're not a weakling. If that's the case, you got to get your kids stronger. I'm a big fan of swinging heavy training bats, but not over swinging them, not doing too much with them, but definitely swinging a heavier bat. Doesn't need to be a 4-pound bat or a 3-pound bat, but swinging a heavier bat can be very advantageous. Even if it's just 10 swings at the end of a batting practice session. Getting players stronger is a big part of that. That's a little slower process overall with youth baseball, and we're going to talk about some of the key things with youth baseball strength and conditioning in just a minute. We're going to retouch on those. So those are the 4 main reasons hitters are not on time. They don't start their swing process on time. They don't have an efficient swing to the pitch. A lot of unnecessary movement. They're not strong enough yet, or the bat they're using is too heavy for them at this time. You got to have a conversation with them. Say, hey, do you want to look cool walking up to the plate? Or do you want to look cool by having a lot more hits and a lot more doubles? The heavy bat may look cool on their shoulder as they walk up to the plate. But when they're roping more doubles, crushing line drives because they're using a bat that's a better weight for them at this time, that's a lot more cool. Now, moving to the other side of the ball, throwing program. So I listen to lots and read lots of baseball stuff every week. I've been doing this since I was a kid. And when I hear great things, I take notes. In fact, I always have a notepad ready when I'm listening or reading. And I'm always trying to see if there's, one, commonalities amongst great coaches that have been great for a while or an extended period of time with multiple players, multiple teams, large sample size across a longitudinal range. And there's a coach that's had a lot of success over a long period of time, and that's Bobby Applegate. Coach Applegate, I believe he's still at Colorado State University, Pueblo, head coach over there. He's been around some high quality programs, UC Riverside, Navy to name a few. and he gave a talk about pitching, throwing routines, etc. at the ABCA, the American Baseball Coaches Association annual conference, which is the biggest conference by far in the coaching community, coaching world, baseball coaching, that is. And something that stood out from his discussion that really stood out, I heard some really great stuff from it. If you get a chance, go listen to it. It's a little more for advanced. Again, he's a college coach. And again, this is the biggest challenge and difficulty I see with getting information to youth baseball coaches, that it can be used and applicable at the youth baseball level, which is different than college and high-level varsity and definitely pro ball. It's listening to these phenomenally wise coaches like Coach Applegate, who know the game very well and are sharing out high-level wisdom, but taking from that, first, knowing what is really the reason for their success, trusting that what they're sharing is the 80-20 that's generating the majority of their success, and then being able to translate it and vet it to see if it's even worthwhile to use at the youth baseball level due to such different constraints. The biggest one is time, and then skill, and then equipment and facilities. And then after you do all that, you have to take this wisdom from somebody like Coach Applegate, who clearly knows what he's talking about, but he's a high-level college coach. You have to take what he's saying, and then you have to use it and teach it and convey it and translate it and communicate it to 7-year-olds, 10-year-olds. If, in fact, it is something that should be shared with youth baseball. In many cases, it should be. You just have to work and understand what you're doing. And so that's really a big part of what we're doing here with 80-20 baseball. That's part of it. That's a big part of it. That's one of the big parts. Why I hope you come to 80-20 baseball. I go get the information, I bring it to you from all the experts out there, and also I vetted through all my experience. We also have original ideas here that you're not going to find other places. See the hitting approach, go see the video on holding runners on base. There's quite a few things you're not going to see exactly as we share them or want them to be coached up out there, but there's so much great information that's already out there. You can't reinvent the wheel so many times. Nevertheless, I hear this message about the throwing routine and what Coach Applegate does with his players. So this would be something I would recommend to older youth players. You may test it out with the younger players. He puts his players on a throwing routine, a throwing program that is timed. He times it, so he uses a timer rather than a rep amount. He uses time as the constraint or as the volume for the throwing routine or for each part of the throwing routine. And his reasoning behind that I thought made a lot of sense. And again, this would be for probably older youth players. If you're a high school coach listening to this, college coach or above for sure, and I know there are those listening, he sets his throwing routine on a timer because he wants players to throw for that entire time. Maybe say they're at 90 feet, for example, and they're throwing for 3 minutes. He says to them, throw as many throws as you can for 3 minutes based off of how you feel right now. The intensity and the volume, the amount of throws is up to the player, up to the pitcher, up to the thrower. He sets the time, so he sets the parameters and gives them freedom within. That's music to my ears. That's 80-20 baseball through and through. We want to set firm parameters that we can adjust as coaches, but within the practice context, at each practice, we want to have these firm parameters, but we want freedom within the parameters. We want to think wild animal park, not a tight cage zoo. Not that players are animals, but the metaphor is you don't want to give them a 10 by 10 cage. You want to give them a wide range to roam free a little bit, but there are fences. There are fences. So I thought this was a really good example of how a coach says, all right, this is how we're going to do it, but you can have some freedom within. So we're going to do a 20-minute throwing routine, 4 minutes here, 2 minutes there, 3 minutes here. How many throws you make is up to you and your arm and how you feel today based off of typically work volume, throwing volume that came before, arm health, etc. Like I said, for young players, this isn't going to affect it too much because they roll out of bed, their arm feels pretty good. It shouldn't be bothering them at 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old. When you get a little older, teenage years, I definitely think this could be something worthwhile to consider. All right. The 4 things that I pulled out of the Jared Slater interview, the 4 big things. 1, start with the basics, strength and conditioning with youth players. It should be basic. It should be simple. There's no need to get advanced at a young age. However, starting at a younger age will speed up the growth and strength curve when the kids are getting older, when they get older and they do get into that advanced training, high school, college, and beyond. So really what you're trying to do is not expedite their strength and conditioning at a young level, but once they get into a real strong program, a consistent program, if and when they do, the basics are going to be set, the techniques, the understanding, the comfortable feeling of being in a weight room or training session, or being coached up in those methods and with that terminology, it will not be new. So start with the basics, keep it simple, definitely start doing something. No need to get advanced. Jared also mentioned in-season training. In-season strength and conditioning is good, but should likely be done at a similar resistance, which for most players is going to be body weight. For most youth players, body weight is enough. They might be using some light med balls, they might be using some light weighted dumbbells, but it's typically going to be body weight at the lower youth levels, and it's more about stability, mobility, things like that, which all fall under that strength and conditioning umbrella. So in-season strength training is good, but it should likely be done at a similar resistance, but at a lesser rep volume. So similar resistance, similar exercises, or the same exercises, same resistance, but at lesser rep volume. Just faster, done quicker, shorter workouts, more concise, in season. Also recommended, and this is something that comes more from me as a coach, the 80-20 baseball side of it is, at a minimum, you don't want your kids to get into a strength and conditioning routine. They're 10, 11 years old, 12 years old. Get them a screening, a strength and mobility screening, assessment, and a plan. I would recommend, if there's a quality coach in your area, you reach out to them and say, hey, can we do a 1-time or a 2-time or a 3-time strength and conditioning, mobility screening and plan? Somebody who can assess, can screen them, and then put together a plan that you could follow. They'll probably charge you a little more up front, but you don't have that long-term deal. I highly recommend this. And if you don't live that close to a quality strength and conditioning coach or program, all you have to do is drive over for a couple hours, get that done, and then you have the plan and the assessment done to give you some guidance moving forward. The fourth main thing that I got out of the interview with Coach Jared Slater over the last 2 weeks was Jared gave his recommendation on how to best choose a strength and conditioning coach for your kid or team. That's if you're going to use one moving forward on a kind of an ongoing basis. And that is to go with someone who preaches long-term success, not overnight success. And someone that has long-term success with a group of athletes, not just one athlete, but a group of athletes. Long-term success, not overnight success. Watch out for those coaches that are guaranteeing quick, instant results, especially when it comes to strength and conditioning. There are some things that can get better faster, little technique adjustments, things like that, but not strength and conditioning, things like that. One of the most listened to episodes, episode 122, discussed umpires, how to deal with umpires. A lot of you are in the middle of your season. Here's a refresher, a reminder. You think there's a bad call. I call it a perceived bad call. If you perceive a call as being wrong or erroneous or bad or terrible, have a conversation with the umpire. Have the mindset of having a conversation with the umpire. Don't think head to head. Don't think debate. Think conversation. Think flanking them rather than going up head to head, toe to toe. Flank them. Have a conversation. They are not your opponent. Work with umpires to get the best outcome. Now, y'all can do what you want. Hey, you do what you want. Good luck, okay? There's a way that works and there's a way that doesn't, flat out. Now, within that way, there's some nuances depending on the situation, but there are things that don't work and things that work with umpires and the interaction of coaches with umpires. So have a conversation, try to flank them, don't go head to head. Think, how can I get him to think and know that I'm on his side, we're together, how do we get the best outcome? They are not your opponent. Work with them. So step one, you see a bad call, or I should say, you perceive a call to be bad or wrong or whatnot. Ask yourself, is this a call that the rule book or a possible second umpire can overturn? That's the first step. Ask yourself, is this something that I can go to another umpire, a second umpire on the field, and I feel strongly or I believe that umpire could possibly overturn it based off of what they saw? The other thing that could overturn it is the rule book. So ask yourself, is this something that the rule book can overturn or the second umpire? Some of you don't have second umpires, so you have to really rely on the rule book. If you can't say yes to that question, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Ask yourself, is that perceived call, that perceived bad call, is that something that the rule book or a second umpire can overturn. Not necessarily will overturn, but can overturn. Yes? Okay. Start walking out there. Don't run. Walk slowly. Don't walk like you're going out there for a fight. Walk casual. Don't dilly-dally. Don't pick grass. Don't stop and tie your shoes. Walk out there. Don't slow the game up. That sucks for everybody. Walk out there calmly. Don't stare the umpire down the whole way. Again, you can do whatever you want. Trust me. You got to trust me on this. There's a way to do it and there's a way not to do it. I recommend you don't walk straight up to the umpire. Or if you do, walk straight up to him and start talking to him and then turn a little bit so you're not face to face. And I recommend you turn away from the stands and away from the dugouts, essentially out towards the field. I recommend you do not go face to face. I do think it's appropriate maybe to walk up, make some good eye contact respectfully, and then turn. So it's almost like you're together, you're shoulder to shoulder, you're elbow to elbow, you're together. You're like, hey, how can we solve this? It also doesn't appear confrontational. And keep your voice as low and as quiet as possible with your conversation. Obviously, the umpire you're talking to, he's got to hear you, she's got to hear you talking, of course. But once they can hear you talking, do not be any louder. This is huge. So step one, ask yourself, is this a call that the rule book or another set of eyes via a second umpire or third umpire can overturn? If it's not, then you're done. Step two, if it is, go to step two, be low key, walk out, turn a little towards the field, don't square up to the umpire, and talk in a low key and quiet voice. Keep your conversation low key and quiet. And don't get into the, you're wrong, you missed this, you bum. Don't get personal. Just stick to the facts. I saw this, the rule book says this. Let me give you an example. I was coaching years ago. This was an 11U team. I can see myself at the park like just yesterday. Our team's on defense. I see what I believe to be interference by the hitter's interference on a throw down to second. The other team had a runner stealing. Our catcher was trying to throw him out. And I went up to the umpire and there was only one umpire. So this was risky. This was tough. But I saw the umpire look down at the player's feet as the swing was finishing, and I believe that the umpire saw that player's feet step on home plate as he finished his swing, which essentially is always going to be interference. The hitter needs to stay in the batter's box, right? Their hands can come out. They might be a little over the line, of course, when they're swinging, but their feet should not end up on home plate as the catcher is making the throw to second base. So I went up to him and I turned away from the fans and I said, hey, what's the rule on interferences? I didn't come out like a know-it-all. And in fact, I didn't know all the nuances of all the interference rules. So I didn't want to come out and put my foot in my mouth. And I said, yeah, what do you got on that? What's the rule book say on that? And he's like, well, if the hitter, is out of the box, yada, yada. And I said, you saw his feet, right? You saw the feet stepping on the plate? And he said, yeah. And I said, I'm glad I ran it by you because you're saying the rule book says that's interference. So then you saw his right foot swing around and land on the plate. So we got interference, right? He's like, yeah, you're right. I know this isn't always going to work out like this, but the umpire literally overturned it right then. He's like, all right, I got interference, batter's out, runner's got to go back to first. It's not always going to work out like that. But I didn't go out there like a know-it-all. I tried to make the umpire feel like the authority. I tried to get him to explain the rule book and counter what he saw. It's almost like he had to go, yeah, if the rule book that I know says this and I saw this, then yes. So I'm kind of that way of making people feel like it was their idea. This is so hard to do. I'm not good at it just in general, but this worked really well. My first thing was, is this something that a second set of eyes or could be overturned? And in this case, because of so many years playing, doing so many thousands of scouting reports on body language on players, opponents, and also studying umpires left and right to know their zones, what not to say, what they might overturn, what they might not, their patterns. It led me to believe that this umpire could possibly overturn that. And he did. Now, the reason you want to be low key and quiet is you don't want the umpire to feel like the fans and the other team and the players are going to think that you talked him into changing his call. They don't want the perception to be that you strong-armed them into changing their call. And they don't want the perception to be that. They don't want the perception to be that you went out there and you forced them to change the call. And by being low and quiet, and so nobody else can really hear what you're saying, nobody really knows. They don't know if he just decided, hey, yeah, after further thought, I missed the call. Or maybe the casual conversation, two minds working together, came up with a better solution. So the quote of the week is actually something I tweeted out, and it's probably not the quote of the week. I'm sure there's better quotes out there, but it fit perfect with this. And I'm going to wrap up this episode with this quote. I tweeted out a few days ago, if we have the extra energy to argue and yell at umpires, we should divert that energy, save that energy, and conserve that energy and be better coaches. If we have the extra energy to argue and yell at umpires, we should divert that energy towards being better coaches. Never yell or argue with umpires. You work with them, you're quiet, you're low key. That's the only way over time you're going to get more calls reversed. Can you go out there and yell and scream and possibly get one overturned a year? Maybe, but you all have day jobs. You're trying to be really good. You're trying to be the best you can at your job and your business. You're trying to be a good parent, helping raise a family. You're trying to take care of your own health. You're trying to keep your house organized. You got a hobby or two that you like. Why are you going to waste that energy? If you have extra energy to argue and yell at umpires, just take it and say, no, I'm just going to save that. I'm going to divert it towards being a better coach. I'm going to use that energy because being a great coach can be draining. It is draining. You should be exhausted after practice if you're a good coach. It's not so much how much you talk necessarily, but you're constantly trying to create a great environment, and that can be tough. That can be challenging. And also as a coach, you should be putting a lot of energy forward in practice, because the more energy and effort you put in by hitting ground balls, by pitching, by doing things, and that's less of the reps that get taken away from players. That means the players can be doing more reps rather than being the person hitting the fungo bat or throwing batting practice. So don't waste that energy arguing and yelling at umpires. First, ask yourself, if the call's not good, is this something that can even be overturned, or is it possible that it could be overturned? Did somebody see something, one of the umpires see something that leads you to think that they might overturn it? Or is there something in the rule book that could overturn it? And then walk out casually, be respectful, try to make it their idea, that the call was missed. Keep your voice low. You just want it to be out of earshot, or at least the perception is that it's out of earshot of the other team, the other coaches, the fans. And this is not as easy as you might think, but it shows that you're not trying to show them up. And when they get so many coaches, game in and game out, week in and week out, that yell and put them on blast and try to embarrass them, you don't think they're going to appreciate a coach that comes out there, tries to work with them, not against them, respects them? They're going to pick this up. Trust me, almost every umpire will notice this. If not right away, they will key on this. They will acknowledge, they will be aware that you were trying to be low key. You weren't trying to make a show out of it. You were just really trying to get the call overturned, not look like a know-it-all and not make them look like a bozo. Hey, you can go do what you want, or you can follow these tips, these steps. You go do your thing, and if you want to do it your own way, don't say I didn't warn you, okay? For the rest of you see where I'm coming from. You can trust me on this. It's your best chance. It's a win-win-win all around for everybody. It's the way to go about it. It's the way to handle an umpire perceived bad calls. And yeah, next week, I have something that's not directly baseball related, a recommendation for you. I found a podcast app after all these years of listening to podcasts, over 10 years of daily listening to podcasts. I found a podcast app that I really like. So I'm going to share that recommendation with you next week, this podcast app. I'm going to share you a couple things that I liked about it. I'm not marketing it. I don't know the developers or any of that. There's no strings attached. I just found this and I wanted to share it with you. You're all listening to this podcast. I found this podcast app that I really like. I've tried so many of them. Typically, I stick with kind of the more native Apple podcast one, which I just was finding the people they're developing it, there's some good things about it. Definitely. There's some good things, but it just wasn't like, this is a real podcast user building the UI and the user experience. I got that recommendation next week. Also, go get that drill design guide over on 8020baseball.com. It's a 21-page PDF. It's free. It's emailed to you right away. It gives you the exact paradigm, the steps, the parts, the ingredients to what a great drill looks like. So you can create a good drill, a great drill, anytime, anywhere, for any sport, for anything. It has the ingredients, the first principles of a quality training drill. Follow on Twitter, 8020_baseball. You can follow me on Twitter. Support the podcast. Leave a review. Just a quick positive review is always great. An honest review is great. And email me your success stories or your questions. Send those over to me. You can go to 8020baseball.com. There's a contact page right there. Take me along with you on your baseball journey. I do get a lot of emails, so I try my best to get back. I usually get back the same day and I give a thorough answer, but send them over. I want to go along with you all and support you as you do something that I have a ton of respect for, and that is being a coach. Thank you for being a coach. Should be thankful and proud of yourself. Thank yourself for being a coach, because we don't always get the thanks out there. But the thanks is the reward is the feeling of doing something good and giving back. Everybody talks about giving back to the world. Coaching is giving back. It's giving back to the next generation. Thank you for being a coach. Thank you. And until next week, take care of your health so you can be that great coach. Take care of your family. That's what we do, right? And along with your family, those close friends, be good to them. Be there when they need you. And take this out there and implement it. Take this information, go use it. Don't let it stop here in your AirPod, on your speaker, on your phone. Don't let it stop there. Don't let it stop as it enters your ear. Go implement it. Don't just ponder it. Go put it in. Go use it. And until next week, adios.
This has been the 80-20 Baseball Masterclass. Take it to the field.